Indira, in your role with 100K Incubator, you work to get early stage women entrepreneurs the sales funnels and digital advertising campaigns necessary to produce profit off seed investments and scale their businesses. Not every business has access to endless capital, so what strategy would you recommend for F&B brands who are just starting out with advertising and have a small budget?
Thank you. I would say, first and foremost, definitely get into a community where you are working on your financials and getting them, prepared in order to do funding. I find a lot of times physical businesses, brick and mortar, uh, spend a lot of revenue on like inventory that could be used for advertising to get you the sales to be able to scale and do further. So I would say definitely keep a piece of what you would normally use towards like inventory. If it's not necessary, like definitely gear that towards advertising. Second, I would say with a small budget, the most important thing that you want to do is you would want to advertise to people who have already shown an interest in your business. And so what I would recommend for a food and beverage brand would be something where you create, let's say like a video, and let the video maybe might be you showing a certain recipe or something that you're making or what goes into the making of a certain thing. And I would make that video itself be an ad. And doing that, you will pay like pennies on the dollar for someone to watch that video. Then the second part of the strategy would be, now that you have that video running, you have, people who are new to, who don't know your business viewing that video, I would then create a second ad that actually gives them some sort of a coupon or a discount or some sort of like a freebie for them to visit or patronize your business, right? But I would only show that advertisement to people who've watched at least 10 seconds of the first video. So this way, I know I'm not advertising to people who were not interested in what I had to offer. Like I'm not using the bulk of my advertising budget and kind of just guessing or hoping that people stop in. And that also would benefit you too, because by having them to do that, they're gonna have to give you their email in order to receive the coupon or the discount. So it's basically a multi-pronged approach. You're only advertising to people who've shown you an interest, and you're also building your platform for your email marketing outside of a social media platform. So that's what I would recommend.
Awesome. And what platforms would you recommend, Facebook versus Instagram versus Google ads? And are there kind of quick start ways for somebody to do this who maybe hasn't stepped into the advertising world yet, that understand it?
Yes. So I would say Google ads I would use last. No, but for a couple of reasons. The reason that I say that is because Google advertising, the person is actively searching for something. So unfortunately, what happens is when someone's actively searching for something and they put in, what they're looking for, Google is going to present like everyone who's under that search. So you can even advertise, let's say if I'm doing an advertisement for a Pizza Hut, I could be Papa John's and make sure like I show up under the search for Pizza Hut as an ad, right? So I think that that's something that you would want to, add later when you have more of a budget to spend. Facebook and Instagram advertising is different. It's it's an interruption in a sense, what they're normally doing every day. So they weren't actively searching for you when they saw your ad on Facebook or Instagram. So I would start with those first. Also, I would definitely, and it's the same platform. So it's not like you have to learn Instagram advertising and Facebook advertising. It's the same platform. You advertise on Facebook and then it just asks you, do you want the ad to be shown on Instagram too or not? And it's literally a click of a button. So it's not extra work that you have to do in terms of that. So I feel like starting with that first, because those two are, part of the big three, and you could knock those both out at the same time. So that's what I would recommend first. Is definitely go with Facebook first. In terms of data research, like they know everything, everybody, right?
Yeah,
Right, they know everything about everybody, and they're in a business too, right? So they're a business too, so they want your advertisements to do well. They want you to succeed because they know that if you succeed, guess what? The advertising budget is going to go up. You're going to use it more. So that's who I would use. That's who I would go with first.
Awesome. And then how would you tell a business to measure their success? So if they're running an ad, how would you kind of let them know how to measure whether this is an ad they should keep running, or maybe they should make some changes in terms of content, spend, etc.?
So that would really depend on the objective of the ad. So if the objective of the ad is to create brand awareness, then if people are commenting, liking, sharing, whatever the content is, then for me, that is a successful ad. If the objective of the ad is to get people to download the coupon, like I was talking about in the earlier example, I would say it goes into a lot of metrics, but I would say if you have it up and you're spending more than what it will cost you to actually make a profit to sell whatever the product is, then you need to revisit. But for the most part, I would say most things that are in like the coupon freebie range, it's probably going to cost you anywhere from $1 to $5 per person. For someone to give you their email to get that information. That would be like the benchmark that I would use. $5 being like really up there just because of COVID and everything else. People are a little gun shy, visiting. But that's in general terms, that's what I would use.
Awesome. And kind of like Michelle touched on with content, I think ads can also run with that trial and error a little bit and kind of understanding your audience and how best to reach them. So that takes us back to you, Michelle, actually. So you have an extensive background in social media management and content development. So you are a fantastic person for a business to hire. But before they do that, in terms of brand development and marketing, what can businesses do by themselves if they don't have any money to invest in bringing someone on for website, social strategy, and the related?
So the main thing that I've preached in the past before is keep it simple, right? Like, I know the goal is eventually to have these really intricate and customized websites and social platforms that have these amazing graphics that's specific to your brand and your brand only. But at the beginning, it's okay to use resources like Weebly, Wix, Squarespace, or like Shopify that has pre-built templates that you can use for the time being to help you establish your presence online. It's okay to keep it simple on your social media platforms. If it's even okay to just have one social media platform at the beginning, right? It's all about managing your own time, right? I know there's a lot of pressure out in for like a small businesses to be on everything. I've had clients come to me and I saw they're on everything from Facebook to TikTok, and what they do is they're a lawyer, like a law company. I'm like, why are you on TikTok? There's no need for this. Wasting your time. It's okay to start with Facebook and dominate Facebook. Create the content you need, find your audience and speak to them. And then it'll make it easier for you to start your Instagram account because you know who your audience is. You know what they like. So it's going to be easier for you to create content for your Instagram page that speaks to the same people. Right. And like I said, there's a lot of free resources, not only for your website, but for social media. I've been preaching the use of Canva since it was created.
Canva is magic.
The greatest platform I've ever had in my life. Before I learned how to use Photoshop, Canva is what I was using to create these amazing graphics, and they've only gotten better. They help you do videos now. So it's it's beautiful. And they do everything from your Facebook page posts, giving you templates for that, to templates for flyers and your presentations. If you have a pitch deck, like it's a phenomenal tool. One day I'll figure out how to get Canva to sponsor me so I can get paid people to use this platform. But it's truly amazing. It's free. Like it's a free tool for people to use.
Absolutely. And then what would you say would be that line between like do it yourself and I need to hire someone to grow my online presence, like as the businesses begin to scale?
Right. I mean, there's going to be a point where that simple website is going to no longer be useful to you, because you're going to need those customizations. You're going to need to be able to have a website that maybe can handle more inventory or more traffic to their website, right? And that's when you're going to have to hire a web developer. And it's the same thing with your social media accounts. Like I said, start with one, build it up. A lot of people can handle one platform. Once you start adding on 2 and 3 and 4, that's when you're probably going to start needing help from somebody outside of your company to create your content for you, to write, to respond to your customers. And that's when you're going to know, like, I need to hire someone to help me get to that next level. Because once these things like your website and your social media platforms start eating into your time that could be used to help with like the operational side of everything, then you're going to know, like, I need help now.
And what would you say, well, I guess depending on the business, but in your experience, what is the first person you see businesses typically hiring out for?
Web developers, definitely web developers.
Yeah. And would you say that businesses need help with SEO in terms of hiring out for that, or is there a way that they can kind of bridge that themselves?
Oh, definitely. So at the beginning, a lot of those websites that I mentioned, like We Believe, Wix, I know specifically Shopify, they have sections in there that'll help you with your SEO. You tell them what keyword, let's say it's fruity drinks. They'll help you make sure that each page that you have helps you rank for Google. But because those platforms are templates that you have to use, it doesn't give you enough customization, where if you wanted to create like blog posts with specific features or specific content onto it, you're going to need a new website to help you do those things, to help build your SEO, right? And SEO is something that I definitely see that most people, they either don't think about it, like it's not their first thing that they think about, or it's perceived to be this very complex thing that most people just don't want to deal with. And I understand that completely, right? But like I said, those websites that have those templates, they make it really easy for you to at least have the basics of your SEO completed, right? And then once you want to start building your presence a little bit more online, and you want to really hit that first page of Google organically, that's now a priority for you, then that's something that someone will go and hire someone to do their SEO.
Awesome. And then in terms of SEO, which is search engine optimization, just for everybody out there, I know we didn't kind of lay that out just in case. Would you say, Michelle, that a blog is helpful for a website to have?
Definitely. I think blogs do help a lot. However, you have to make sure before you start that blog, every other page that you have is optimized, right? So if you have a website that has 6 different products, you want to make sure each one of those products pages are optimized for your SEO, right? You want to make sure whatever the content, the keywords that you're trying to hit, you're hitting them on every single page. And once those are completely optimized, then you can start building onto blog contents, writing. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You can literally create a blog once a week about the specials you plan on doing that week, right? Like Monday through Friday, this is what we're going to be serving at our restaurant, or this week we'll be at these farmers markets or at these areas at this time, and this time, right? It doesn't have to be complex to the point where you need to write a 2,000 word essay every week onto your website. It could be very, very simple, or it could be very, very complex. It really depends on the person.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. This next question, this is geared towards both Alexis and Anita. So what strategies and tips would you have for small business owners, particularly those who live within a city but don't have a brick and mortar just yet? How can they gain more clients using their digital platform?
I'll go ahead and start. So one of the ways, if you don't have a brick and mortar, you may actually be in a better space in terms of now, and optimizing your digital. I'm assuming if they do not have a brick and mortar space, that they are very active on digital, which is how they are able to contact and notify clients on where they're going to be. So at that point, they have already utilized an Instagram or a Facebook or some sort of social media tool or digital tool to enhance their visibility to their audience. I would say to also make sure that you're registered with a Yelp, because reviews of your business will help increase your visibility. Michelle spoke to SEO optimization, which is really important as well. If you're not a physical place, then those tags that people use to identify you are going to be really helpful in making whatever platform you are on and conducting your business from visible at the top of a search engine. So that's important as well. I really champion for review pages like a Yelp, or even Facebook business pages have an option for you to review and rate based on 1 to 5 stars, how you would rate that business, which also helps with your algorithm on Facebook as well, because what your patrons say about you is more powerful than anything that you as a business could say about yourself. So it's really important that if you do not have a place that people can physically visit, that you are really optimizing your presence in the digital space, making sure that you're thinking outside of the box about your digital presence. Maybe an Instagram or Facebook isn't enough. Yelp would be a good option. Looking into search engine optimization would be a great option. And I think the most important thing would be your virtual business space, which would be your website, and making sure that you're in contact with a web developer or using the resources that Michelle spoke about in order to really optimize that. Make sure you are in contact with your city. The City of Miramar does have a database for all of our businesses. We keep it in an Excel spreadsheet, and then we also post it on our website so that people can find different business resources as they need and see fit. Again, we're in a little bit of a we're at a very political situation where we cannot refer, but we definitely do highlight businesses, and we also make sure that those databases are accessible to our residents and community.
Anita?
Thank you, Alexis. I also think it's important to network by joining a local chamber of commerce. The City of Miramar is very actively involved in the Miramar Pembroke Pines Chamber of Commerce. And what I find is chamber members refer and do business with other chamber members. And even in this digital stage, the chamber meetings are now held via Zoom. And during those meetings, someone may mention, oh, I really need someone who needs to update my website. And you'll say, hey, chamber member so-and-so. So I think it's still very important to network. And what we do in the City of Miramar, we offer sponsorships. If a business wants to join the Chamber of Commerce, we will pay your first year so that you can become a member of the chamber. You get advertisement on the chamber site. You get so many networking and other outreach opportunities just by being a member of the chamber. So the city does support that through small businesses through that avenue as well. And the chamber is very digital, so it has a great digital platform, yes.
Awesome, awesome. I love that. I mean, I think, we can never let go of the traditional means of really getting your name out there. There's, added means in terms of digitally, but, the traditional forms of marketing still do work and stand.
And the chamber does do a good job digitally. They will do a business focus and do an email blast about your business to all chamber members. So they do they do take advantage of the digital marketing also.
Love that, love that. And Alexis, just to go back to you really quickly, in terms of small businesses posting that content, if they're just starting out, how often would you say they should be, you know, posting on social media, sending newsletters, and does that have any weight on kind of the effectiveness of it?
Yes, with anything in the digital space, Michelle spoke to this as well. It really is about trial and error in terms of the frequency of your post, especially because Instagram and Facebook, the algorithm changes so often. So now your timeline is no longer in chronological order. So you could post 5 times a day, and depending on the engagement or the frequency of the interaction on that post, you may or may not see it. It may not be visible to all of your patrons. So what I drive as more important than the frequency is the quality of the content. Make sure you're using, especially for F&B businesses, make sure you're using high resolution photos. Michelle mentioned Canva, which is the love of my life in terms of stock images that aren't watermarked. So even if you may not have the content, but you have a product similar to a stock photo, using something that's going to be engaging, that people are going to like. Instagram is a platform made specifically for photo, still photo originally, but now moving more into a video platform. But that was what separated it from Facebook. There is no character limit on the caption, so really be very creative in your captions as well. Do little quizzes, little surveys in your captions to where people have to engage with it, comment, ask to tag, 3 people for a free drink or a free lunch meal, and really engage your audience that way to up your visibility and to really take advantage of the algorithm. And don't be afraid to try different things. Really circling back to what I had mentioned originally, play around on Instagram. Maybe you find that you have more success and visibility in Instagram stories rather than posting still photos to your feed. Yeah. Then use your Instagram story more often. Use the still feed to prompt people to that story. Use your highlight features so that way people can go back and review things if they want to see, what the Wednesday lunch special is. Make sure that there's a highlight for all of your lunch specials. Make sure there's a highlight for your drink menu. This could also come in handy for businesses that their website may not be as savvy as others. Use the highlight function, upload your menus or your deals into the highlights on your social media pages as well. And again, they do interface Facebook and Instagram. So you're really getting 2-for-1 visibility. The stories also go over to your Facebook from your Instagram story account as well, as long as you set that feature. So that would definitely be one of the things I would say to do.
What I'd like to add, what I enjoy about the marketing that's done for our economic and business development department is that it's not boring. It doesn't look governese. It draws people's attention. So I really do enjoy that aspect of the work that's done about our podcast and webinars. It doesn't look so boring, like government can be perceived. It looks exciting.
Yeah. and that's what's important. Like, a lot of these social media websites are visual before you read the caption, so you really need to be caught by that content. So I think it's important for businesses to know that you're not just posting to post. You really want things to be engaging so that you can then lead to an ask. Yes. And that ask can be received. Thank you,
and
guys.
I reviewed the numbers yeah, they look good. The number of people who visited, it looks good.
Good. It does. It does. So, as we kind of have touched on, digital marketing can be a very tough area to navigate, and it can encompass a lot of different avenues. So we've talked about tips and strategies, but let's talk about what not to do. This is a question for everyone. What are some common digital marketing mistakes businesses make? Let's start with Michelle.
That's a good question. So I touched on this a little bit before, being on too many things. without knowing the purpose of that platform. You know, why are you there? Why are you adding value to your customers and your clients on that specific platform, right? I make sure to attack each platform as its own individual um, platform, essentially. So like I know my purpose on Instagram is like for my personal company is I direct more to more social media managers than I do actual clients. It's my Instagram is there to help my fellow social media managers to vent, to talk about it, to be a little bit funny about like the pitfalls of social media marketing. I know it's something that I always need, and it's something that I've seen that works really well with them. My Facebook is more so for my clients. I give more tips. That's where I share articles. That's where I'll tell them about the new analytics. Like I'll have my analytic change alert, like, hey, Facebook changed it again. This is what so knowing what each specific platform is doing and planning for that, right? Planning is amazing, right? And a lot of the times I'll look at somebody's social platforms and I can tell that maybe they're posting out of necessity. So like the thought process of what they posted was, oh my God, I didn't post it late. Let me just take a picture and throw it on there, right? Think of the purpose behind why are you posting this? What am I giving to my clients, my customers, right? I think earlier on we talked about social media kind of being like you're almost dating your customers. You're trying to woo them, and one way you woo them is with the content you're posting, right? Like I know before I ever went on any date, I Facebook stalked and looked at their Instagram, and if they had a website, I looked at the website too. And that's essentially what your clients are doing. The behaviors between online dating and whether or not I want to work or visit this shop is very, very similar, right? So you have to kind of treat it that way. Every post you do, think about it like, is this going to make somebody want to come to my restaurant or want to buy my product, right? So think of it in that sense.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Those are great things not to do. Indira, how about you? What are some mistakes that you see?
I would say it's the biggest mistake that I would say is treating advertising as optional instead of mandatory. Treating it as if it is an expense, not an investment. And it kind of goes twofold with, and the reason why that's one of the biggest mistakes is because you should be growing your own email list, your own audience outside of these social media platforms. At the end of the day, like followers are not funds, right? And you don't own these platforms, but you do own your email list. If you were to go in, and apply for, depending, not all the time, but depending, some loans, some credit lines of credit that you apply for your business, they're going to ask you how big is your email list, because they view it as an asset. They're not asking you how big is your IG, how big is your Facebook. Not discounting that those things are not important, but I just feel like the sooner you start that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is like, oh, I'll get to that later. Let me get some sales first. And it's like, no, you have it backwards. Like that should be mandatory, like not optional. And the other thing is that when we talk about Facebook algorithms and all of those things, I consider Facebook like a machine, right? And it's a machine that the more data you have, the better it works for you, right? So you can actually, not to, be creepy or anything, but like you can actually upload lists of your audience that do certain behaviors and tell Facebook, like, find me more people who are similar in demographics similar to these people. So instead of you trying to guess who to advertise to, you present the data and let Facebook find people who are similar to that. But if you never start, then it just takes you longer to get that information. So that would be, I think, the biggest mistake that people make is like saying like, oh, I want to grow my, Instagram or my Facebook to 10,000. It's like, let's focus on your email list, because that's an actual asset that you own.
Awesome, awesome, definitely, and that's definitely the most direct way that you can reach your consumers.
Right.
Alexis, what are some mistakes that you see?
So I want to speak to if anyone in this is involved in municipality work or in a city. One of the biggest mistakes that cities make in their social media is that they cast a wider net than what's necessary to really service the community. And so my big no-no is always do not overlook your audience. Do not overshoot the residents and the small businesses in your communities. They're the ones who need the resources. They are the ones that generate the revenue for the city through property taxes and tax paying and things like that. So make sure that their needs are being met more so than your visibility. A city of, you know, 10,000 with a following of 100K, it's great from a visibility standpoint, possibly a revenue standpoint, but on the micro, I would venture to say that they may be overlooking some areas where they could be better servicing their community with resources like the resources that we are talking about today. And then for food and beverage businesses, I would say a no-no would definitely be don't sleep on surveys. Don't sleep on asking your client base what their preferences are. Don't be afraid to ask for feedback. No news is not good news. People need to be talking about your business, and it's a way for you to really hone in on maybe some of the things that the captive audience that you have want to see, what's working and what's not working. So that would definitely be, don't sleep on it. It's important.
Yeah, and consumers love to feel involved and heard, and I think that actually leads to them, feeling more connected to your product, and ultimately leading them to, have that transition into sales. So absolutely. And Anita, what are some mistakes that you have seen?
The mistakes that I see, well, one big mistake is that businesses are not investing enough in digital marketing. Like I mentioned earlier, we went out a couple of years ago and signed businesses up for Google, and that's it. They've not done anything beyond that, and I think they're missing the mark because of basic intimidation. And like I said, they don't have to do the work. There are plenty of people who could do the work for them. So I would say not investing. And our president of the chamber gave a workshop to our small businesses prior to COVID. And it was, I think we had about 50 people in attendance. And that was the same thing that he said. He said, you spend all this money to develop this business, but you don't spend enough in marketing. And as Indira said, that's not a choice. It's not an option. It's mandatory. So that's what I would share. Thank you.
Awesome.